Warning: the contents in this video may be considered disturbing. When police arrested Joe Metheny for assault in December 1996, they expected him to put up a fight. The 6'1", 450-pound lumber worker apparently had the tendency to fly off the handle and could be easily provoked. There were about 3 or 4 police officers surrounding this man, and they were all very nervous because they were expecting a fight or at least some resistance. But no, they got the complete opposite. He just stood there, broke down and cried. Because what they didn't expect to hear was a detailed and upfront confession of a crime so brutal it even shocked the police, especially when Metheny added, "I'm a very sick person." What Joe Metheny admitted to doing is not just disgusting and disturbing, but it just may very well involve you and anyone else watching and listening to this video, but we'll get to that later. Joe Metheny always had been rough. He endured a childhood of neglect with an absent alcoholic father and a mother forced to work extra shifts to support her 6 children. They lived in Essex near Baltimore. Not many details are known about his younger years, but his mother says he joined the army in 1973 when he was 19. They lost touch after that. He just kept drifting further and further away, and she believes the worst thing ever to happen to him was drugs. She says it's a sad, sad story. Upon leaving the army, Metheny worked blue-collar jobs in lumber yards and as a truck driver. Then came the incident that sparked his desire for revenge and bloodlust. In 1994, Joe Metheny was living with his girlfriend and their 6-year-old son in South Baltimore. As a truck driver, he was on the road for long stints at a time. One day, he came home to find his girlfriend gone, along with their child. Like Metheny, she also had a drug addiction, and Joe believed she left him for another man and took to living in the streets with him. That is when he flew into a fit of rage that was so bad that even he himself could not describe what was happening to him. He said it is as if the devil himself possessed his soul. He said he didn't even feel like he was a human. He wouldn't eat, he wouldn't drink, he just spent days looking for them, checking halfway houses and even under certain bridges where he knew his girlfriend used to buy and do drugs. Under the bridge, he did not find his girlfriend, but he found 2 homeless men whom he believed knew her. When they gave no indication that they knew where his family was, he killed both of them with an axe that he brought along. A skilled lumberer, this man's strikes were so powerful that even on the first strike, matter just flew everywhere, landing all over his face and even went into his mouth, and he gleefully devoured it. He said once devouring the human matter, this gave him a sense of bloodlust as he smiled and continued to strike the homeless men. Immediately afterward, Metheny allegedly noticed a fisherman nearby who could have seen what he had done. Just in case he had, Metheny ended his life too with the same axe. Some people deemed these first 3 killings as a crime of passion, though he later developed a taste for murder, literally. When he snapped out of his rage, he realized what he had done. Metheny panicked and tossed the bodies into the river to hide the evidence. Sometime later, he did get closure on his son's whereabouts. He found out about 6 months later that his girlfriend moved on the other side of town with another man who had been selling her out for drugs. Cops eventually busted both of them, taking away Metheny's son for neglect and abuse. Police eventually arrested Metheny for the murders of 2 men under the bridge. He spent a year and a half in county jail awaiting trial. However, not surprisingly, he was acquitted of any charges as he dumped their bodies in a nearby river and investigators could not find them. You know, I have to say, in every true crime case I have discussed so far, law enforcement utterly dropped the ball. They either give up too soon or stop looking altogether. How many lives can be saved in each story if more effort was given? So this just emboldened him more. Without any physical evidence tying him to the crimes, Metheny went free. He resumed his original quest in seeking his missing girlfriend and child, but this time something was different. Though he had spent a year and a half awaiting his trial, jail time had clearly done nothing to slow Joe Metheny down. Shortly after being released, Metheny murdered 2 sex workers when they failed to provide him with any information on his missing girlfriend. However, this time he had a better idea for disposing their bodies. You see, instead of throwing them into the river, Metheny brought the bodies home. Once home, he dismembered the bodies and stored the meatiest parts in a Tupperware container. What didn't fit in his freezer, he buried in a truck lot owned by the pallet company he worked for. It seemed that he was now murdering people for sport as much as it was for revenge. Over the next several weekends, he mixed the sex workers' flesh with beef and pork, forming it into little patties. He would sell these meat patties out of a small barbecue stand he opened on the side of a popular road. Now here comes the part where I said his crimes may have involved you as well. Joe Metheny admitted to taking small chunks of flesh and formed them into hundreds, if not thousands, of burgers at his barbecue stand, and his stand was very popular. Many of my viewers are in the age range of 30 to 40, so during this time you are possibly a child yourself. You do not know driving along with your parents if you are one of those who ate one of his victims. Matter of fact, you do not know whose victims you may eat today. It is said that many meats from processing plants have traces of human DNA. Who these actual humans are, we will never know. Yes, it could be the actual workers who injure themselves, but with stories like these and the monsters who go unchecked in our daily lives, we will never truly know. And no, vegans, you are not safe either because you truly do not know what's in those actual products. This is just food for thought. During this time, his customers would all consume bits of human flesh. They became unwitting hiding spots for the bodies of Metheny's victims. And whenever he was low of supply and needed more special meat, Metheny would simply venture out and find another sex worker or a homeless person. He later told police that he received no complaints on the meat tasting funny. In fact, no one seemed to notice that his burgers had a little something extra in them, with one man saying they are the best burgers he ever had in his life. So not only a skilled lumberjack, but also an expert on human cuisine, he stated that the human body tastes very similar to pork. If you mix it together, no one can tell the difference. So next time you're riding down the road and you happen to see an open pit beef stand that you've never seen before, make sure you think about this story before you take a bite out of that sandwich. I tell a lot of paranormal stories, a lot of ghost stories, but nothing can scare me more than hearing stories that involve food, as I am somewhat of a foodie, so hearing this not only disturbs me, but also scares me. Joe Metheny would do this for quite some time until he was caught in 1996, when a would-be victim named Rita Kemper managed to escape his clutches and ran straight to the police. During his interrogation, Metheny willingly offered up a confession. He gave details about each murder, even mentioning the murder of a fisherman from several years before. According to his confession, he stated that he killed more than 10 people, but he doesn't know the exact number since he blacked out for most of them. And authorities say there's no reason to believe he would have stopped there had they not captured him. Eventually, a jury found him guilty and sentenced Metheny to death. However, a judge overturned this verdict in 2000 and changed it to 2 consecutive life sentences. Again, there's so much change that needs to be done in the judicial system. Why waste taxpayer dollars on such filth? Is it because he killed the homeless and sex workers? It's sad to see that these people can't be seen as people no matter their profession or who they are. It's a disgrace he gets a chance at life. He even said at his trial that only God can judge him and send him to hell for eternity, because even in hell, he would just enjoy it. The only thing I feel bad about in any of this is that I didn't get to murder the 2 MFers I was really after, he said. And that's my ex-old lady and the bastard she got hooked up with. In 2017, guards found Metheny unresponsive in his cell at a Western Correctional Institution in Cumberland at around 3 p.m. Dying of a heart attack, they pronounced him dead shortly afterward, thus ending his horrifying saga. This true crime story really puts into perspective what we actually consume and the monsters that live amongst us. And not just that, once again another story where law enforcement fail and the murderer is so emboldened by this, he kills more. There's so much evil in this world and so little to stop it. Thank you all so much for watching. This community has been so wonderful with all the support I have been receiving, and all I ever ask is to hit that subscribe button and then hit the notification button, and please also like and comment, as it can only help the channel grow. Once again, thank you so much.